Welcome. How are we all doing? Folks, I hope we are doing well. We got some updates that we have to go over today. Obviously I wouldn't say a lot of movement, but some significant movement. Obviously, the Garrett Crochet trade today to the Red Sox, taking some pieces off of the table for our New York Mets. I mean, there was a good contingent of the New York Mets fan base that didn't even want to explore the Crochet trade because we knew it was going to cost the Mets in prospects. But you know what? Alas, that is not going to be an option. But still, where do the New York Mets pivot? The New York Mets clearly, with the Juan Soto move, are going all in. Right? So the Dodgers, better rotation. Yankees, better rotation. New York Mets right now, although they've made some additions, their rotation, their pitching, as we stand, is lacking right now. Where do we go? Okay, Nathan Eovaldi, another option off of the board. Okay, how does that, Nathan Eovaldi, although that's off the board, the more important question is, how does that affect his contract? How does that affect the Sean Manaea market? How does that affect the Sean Manaea market? Eovaldi, 3 years, $75 million. What does that do to Manaea's market? We're going to go over that. Pete Alonso, where are we looking with the polar bear right now? How is his market? We're going to go over that. We have an update on the Pete Alonso situation. Starling Marte has been in the news today. Apparently, he's on the trading block. What would a trade of Starling Marte look like? What potentially could we get back? All right. Hey, Richard, how's everything going today? Hopefully, you are doing well. Sergeant Hayes, Strike Blitz, Juan. I hope we are all having a great night. Also, the Juan Soto stuff. It is very interesting how everybody's reacting. The New York Mets, at the end of the day, the next 10 years of being a Mets fan are going to be unlike any other. I mean, maybe if you want to go back to the mid-'80s, but as of recently, I think we are going to experience a decade like none other. And no matter when you were a Met fan, we've never, ever had an ownership like Steve Cohen, a passionate guy. And more conversation, we're hearing about Steve Cohen being this generation's George Steinbrenner. And honestly, I like that. I like that because it's true. A guy who is more than just an owner. Steve Cohen is a passionate fan. He's a guy who develops relationships with his players. So I think we're going to be pleasantly surprised with the different players we're going to get. And what I'm referring to is, where do we go from Garrett Crochet? Where do we go? Now, I would say the biggest successful direction, in my opinion, as you see from the title, is to pivot and somehow get a guy like the man Roki Sasaki. That would be the biggest move. And I hear, I did a lot of research on this, and obviously, there's a lot of competition for Roki Sasaki. A lot. Just like there was a lot of competition for Juan Soto. But the Mets were able to sell themselves. The Mets were able to present. They did their research. They did their homework on Juan Soto, and they were able to study up on what was important to Juan Soto, the player, the man. They are doing the same exact thing with Roki Sasaki. So, it's not going to be easy. It is not going to be easy, but that would be plan A with the pitching. There are also other options. Obviously, we spoke about Manaea. We spoke about guys like Walker Buehler, but plan A, without a doubt, would be Roki Sasaki. And I'm going to give you the latest updates on Roki Sasaki and that possibility. Richard Scherzer isn't coming back. And the funny thing is, I was listening to Scott Boris's comments, and they asked him about Max Scherzer, and possibly his next contract. And Scott Boris is talking about Max Scherzer like he did 3 years ago. Like, oh, yeah, we're going to consider our options, and Max is, going. I mean, the guy's like, what is he, 41 years old, 40 years old? I mean, if anybody signs him for $10 million, that would be, that would be a great payday for him. But, Scott Boras, he's always been great at talking, so he's got to talk up his clients. Yeah, and here's the deal, folks. Here's the deal. The New York Mets are in a position, are in a very unique position, with getting Soto. And I've heard the feedback the last couple of days. Literally, this is funny. The last couple of days, I've heard feedback how the Mets really haven't really done as much, right? The Yankees got Max Fried. Today, Garrett Crochet goes to the Red Sox. And then there's been other, smaller moves. Well, obviously, Corbin Burns is still out there. But the Mets haven't made any big moves in 3 days since signing Juan Soto. Trust me, the New York Mets will be making significant moves. And I agree. They need at least 2 more, I would say, bona fide pitchers. That means the pitchers capable of being a number 2 or higher. You would like an ace. You would like multiple aces, but the Mets, they're not in a position, and the strategy is not to pay up for aces and not to pay up for pitchers who are in their 30s. So a Roki Sasaki, fine. They will do whatever they can. Yamamoto, fine. Guys in their mid-20s, and even Garrett Crochet. They were in the mix. But from what I heard, from what I read, a package would have to be built around Acuna and Jet Williams. So for the Mets to even be in the conversation, it would have to start with a package similar to that. So in my opinion, it seemed like maybe it was a little too rich for the blood of Stearns and Cohen. And the Red Sox, the Red Sox, give them credit. They have a bevy of prospects. They didn't even have to include their top 2 prospects, Marcelo Mayer, and I forget their other top prospect. But, Marcelo Mayer is their number 2 prospect. That was a guy they thought would have to go to the White Sox. They didn't even have to trade him. And it just shows you how loaded that farm system is. Our farm system is in the process of being built. We're like ranked in the middle, like 13 to 15, 16. So, we're getting there. And maybe the Mets are in a position where they want to continue to build. But mark my word, if the right move comes along, we will continue to be aggressive because we're in it right now. 2025 is the year where we're going to go all in. Yeah, guys like, I see in the chat, a guy like Scooble, that's a guy I said Crochet's a guy I would, take a chance and go all in with. Crochet's a guy with all the talent in the world. Scooble's another guy. But there aren't many young guys really available that I would really go all in for. That's why Garrett Crochet, who's making minimum money, I would have really explored a package around Jet Williams. Acuna, to me, I really like Acuna. I think he is built differently mentally, and he's got all the physical tools, all the physical gifts. So he's a guy I would have really rather kept. So if it took those 2 guys, I'm okay right now. There are other options. But let's get into Roki Sasaki, and let me give you like the story behind Roki Sasaki. And why I have a bit of hope. Okay, so what does Sasaki and his camp like about the New York Mets? So apparently, Sasaki and his camp, They love the Mets' ability to develop pitchers. They love it. They've said it. His agent has said it. So according to Jim Bowden of CBS Sports, Sasaki's agency is very high on Jeremy Hefner's ability to develop pitching. Sasaki is said to be valuing endorsement opportunities, folks, winning, and pitching development as he decides which team he would like to play for. Which team? And look, that is very important. Remember Juan Soto, when he met with the Blue Jays, Juan Soto said, I value a team's ability to win, commitment to winning, the farm system, facilities, all these things. Even if it was bullshit, kind of BS, you kind of heard what he valued. Sasaki, he values endorsements. No other place better to get endorsements than New York City, right? Okay, LA is another good place, but are you going to get more endorsement opportunities than Shohei Ohtani? He's already there. Yamamoto, already there. The market already is saturated. It is already saturated in LA with a multitude of superstars. In New York, we don't have any pitching superstars. Kodai Senga is nice, but he's not a superstar. He's not a superstar. So endorsement opportunities is key. He will have that in New York. Sasaki, mark my word, wherever he signs, it will be in a big city. He's not going to be paid a lot of money, as we're going to get into. Number two, winning. He has already observed the New York Mets' commitment to winning, spending almost $800 million on Juan Soto. The Mets have demonstrated right now, currently, we are in it to win it. Last year, the Mets almost went to the World Series. So in terms of the talent on the field and what we're doing right now, we are demonstrating to Sasaki how we are committed to winning. And number three, pitching development. Last year, we all saw it, folks. We all saw it. Sean Manaea, best year of his career. David Peterson, those 3 or 4 months, best year of his career. Luis Severino probably could have been the comeback player of the year. It really kind of, the list goes on and on. Quintana, from August 25th on until like the second or third round of the playoff, Quintana was lights out. The way the bullpen just was turned over and over and over. Phil Maton, a guy who was literally, released? Phil Maton was a useful 8th inning guy. What Jeremy Hefner did in terms of developing this team, out of this world. Plus our pitching lab, pitching development is something the New York Mets are known for, is something David Stearns is known for. So if Sasaki and his camp value those factors, we have that in spades. So Sasaki, obviously, he's a 23-year-old guy, throws 100 miles per hour. The sky is the limit with him. Sky is the limit. And apparently, his agency also believes Hefner, Jeremy Hefner, and it's so funny how his agency is speaking about Hefner so much. And it's not like they're trying to get the most money out of the Mets. Wait till I tell you how much money the Mets can offer. It's not a lot. His agency believes Hefner can get the best of him, which usually translates to earnings potential down the road. And that's what the agency of Sasaki is focusing on. They are telling Roki Sasaki, go to a place that you will enjoy pitching in because the earning opportunities will come down the line. And who better that will, Steve Cohen, he's going to pay the kid. He is going to pay the kid. If the kid is the real deal, Steve Cohen will pay him handsomely. And at the moment, according to most reports, and I'm not sure how much I would put stock into this, they're saying the Dodgers and they're saying the Padres are the favorites right now. Okay, so let's get into Sasaki. Like everybody's wondering, how does it work with Sasaki's earning potentials, and how does that factor in with the New York Mets? How much can the Mets pay Sasaki? But I'll tell you this, before we even get into that, money in terms of his base salary, it means nothing. It means nothing, especially if he goes to a place like New York where he can get endorsements and make 10 and 20 times. Like Ohtani's salary right now, he has a $2 million base. He's going to get all that deferred salary. He is making millions upon millions of endorsements. Okay. So it was asked of Stearns about going after Roki. And Stearns, this is what he said. He goes, "We're going to give it our best shot. It's very difficult in these processes to truly understand a player's preference. This isn't a normal free agent recruitment process. So we're going to submit our presentation and materials just like everyone else. And we're going to wait for his camp's feedback." The Mets, and this is very important, have a total international bonus pool of $6.2 million designated for 2025. Of that amount, $5 million is already committed to the highly regarded Elian Pena, a 16-year-old shortstop. So, folks, that is very important. The Mets only have $1.2 million committed. $1.2 million. And just so you know, the most a team can get, I believe, for international bonus pool money is $7 million, right? So, let's just say, for example, and this is not 100% accurate, but let's just say a team like the Pittsburgh Pirates, they have the max amount and it's $7 million. They can give him $7 million. But the Mets, out of this $6.2 million pool, they've already used $5 million. So they only have $1.2 million. But like I said, it's not going to come down to who has the most bonus pool money. These are peanuts in the grand scheme of things. And then if you want to talk about how can the Mets get more money out of their bonus pool, one way is to renege on their agreement with Pena. That doesn't seem likely. Or they can trade for additional bonus pool money. So they can trade with another team. That, I'm not sure how likely that is, but those are just some different ways they can get more bonus pool money. So this is according to Josh Wolf, his agent. He goes, the bonus pool amounts are so negligible. Again, my advice to him is don't make a decision based on that, because the long term of your career is where you earn the money. And again, Wolf indicated Sasaki will sign between January 15th and January 22nd. So the New York Mets, they're not going to get a decision about Sasaki for a very long time. So I said the Mets need at least 2 more starting pitchers. In my opinion, you can't count on Sasaki. So you have to go out and get 2 bona fide pitchers. And if you do sign Sasaki, that's just going to be a great bonus, But the Mets still have to focus. Manaea surely can be one of those guys. And it sounds like a guy like Walker Buehler is going to be a close, he's going to be in the conversation as well. All right, so I'm looking at the chat now. So Juan, let's see. So Juan, you're right. Stearns got to get off his behind and stop falling in love with prospects. Cohen got Soto, not Stearns. And you're absolutely right about that. I think everybody wouldn't debate that. Like, the reason why we have Soto, without a doubt, is because of Steve Cohen. Without a doubt. I mean, Stearns is a guy who came from a small market. This is an easy move to give to give a guy like Soto money. It's easy. It's easy. The hard part is coming from Steve Cohen. Coming from Steve Cohen. So, we haven't seen the best of Stearns yet. As good as Stearns did last year, we haven't seen that great Stearns move. He hasn't made any monumental or impactful trades yet. He hasn't made a Christian Yelich trade with the Mets. So you're right, Juan. All the prospects essentially are still intact. I think he's waiting for that right trade. He's waiting for that right trade. And then when you think about it, a lot of our assets are middle infielders, shortstops, but shortstop is blocked off for the next 8 years. We have a couple guys who play third base. Third base is going to be blocked off, providing you bring Pete back and Vientos is there. And if you're a big believer in a guy, Luis Angel Acuna, and you think he's going to be a second baseman of the future, where do we have room in the middle infield? So all these guys that we're developing in the next 5 to 6 years are going to be essentially capital. So we have to wait for the right move. And I guess it's debatable. In my eyes, I would have taken a chance on Crochet. I'm not 100% sure on. I know the Red Sox gave a pretty good package. I don't know everything about all of their prospects, but I think the Mets were a little gun shy about potentially including some of these top prospects. The guy I would have been gun shy about, there's a couple off limit. Let me run down the list. There's a couple guys I would not touch. Like, obviously, the Mets, they're not trading away Brandon Sprout. He's going to be potentially a future ace. Ryan Clifford, I wouldn't trade him away. Right now. So Ryan Clifford, Sprout, Carson Benj, guy we just drafted. I don't want to trade him away. Ronnie Mauricio, I'm very high on. I've always been high on him. I'd like to see him play at a major league level. Wouldn't trade him away. Blade Tidwell, I'd like to see how he pitches. I don't want to trade him away. Nolan McLean, Jonah Tong, Jonathan Santucci, Luis Angel Acuna. Okay, those are my guys that I personally want to keep. Everybody else, I'd explore trades for. That includes Jet Williams. That includes Drew Gilbert. That includes Jeremy Rodriguez, our 7th-ranked prospect. I mean, I hear a lot of good things about him, but you got to give to get. Marco Vargas, Jesus Baez. Maybe the Mets tried to put packages around those guys and couldn't get it done. But, these are the guys that in this situation, when we are going all in, I would look to trade. And look, think about it this way. The Mets are situating themselves where they want to be the Dodgers. What do the Dodgers do well? The Dodgers always develop prospects. They always have top prospects. And the Dodgers are always able to replenish their farm easily, but they still make trades. Going back years ago, Mookie Betts, Scherzer, Trey Turner, this year, Jack Flaherty, Glasnow last year. The Dodgers are always able to trade for top talent, and they're always able to be in the running for a big free agent. So you got to give the Dodgers a lot of credit, and that's what the Mets are trying to do with their farm system. All right, folks. It is 1:11 in the AM right now. 1:11. We got 9 likes. Let's get the likes up. Like the live stream. It helps the live stream. I appreciate it. I appreciate every one of us right now in here. We're all thinking about the same thing, our New York Mets. So you gotta love it. And you know what? This is, to me, this is the start of I'm going to keep saying this, a decade like we've seen no other, built around Juan Soto, Francisco Lindor, and the sky's really the limit. I think we're going to see a lot of great aggressive moves in this next decade. Stoney, my friend, yes. Juan Soto, the fun for some reason, I don't know. I got my days mixed up. I thought the Juan Soto press conference today, so I got out of work at 4 o'clock and I'm Googling Juan Soto press conference. It's not coming up, but yeah, it's because it's today technically. But yeah, this is going to be great. This is going to be so great. I'm pretty sure most of us are going to be watching that. That's going to be history in the making, the turning of pages. And you know what I love to see? And thank you all I see the likes, they're coming up. Thank you for that. You know what I love to see as a Mets fan? And this is so nice. The Yankee reaction, the Yankees reaction this week is priceless. It's priceless. And the number one offense or the number one thing to hurt Yankee fans is to say Juan Soto left for other reasons other than the money. Every single Yankee fan has the same thing and says, Juan Soto left just because the Mets offered more money. No. Even guys, Jeff Passan, Andy Martino, all these reporters are saying it was other factors. It was Steve Cohen. It was the fact that the Mets are a family organization. It was the fact that the Mets, are perceived to have a better future than the Yankees. The Mets have better prospects. The Mets have more money. The Mets are in a better situation right now than the New York Yankees. The Mets have better management. They have better GM. They have a better manager, Carlos Mendoza. He's a younger manager. I feel he's probably better at relating to the players. Aaron Boone, what is he, like 10, 15 years older? And always he's rumored to get fired. So the Mets overall, we're just in a better situation. I don't understand why that's so hard for Yankee fans to admit. A lot of arrogance, and I don't talk about Yankee fans that much, but I've gotten the feedback, a lot of arrogance. Juan Soto, without a doubt, was believed to have going to the Yankees. You ask a Yankee, he's not going to go to the Mets. The Mets stink. They're the little brother. Well, I mean, if you go in that uninformed, you're going to be in for a rude awakening. and the Yankee fans in for a rude awakening. And to me, I believe this is the tip of the iceberg. Yankee first move, first response, go after Max Fried, right? That's their first response. Is it a good move, great move, good response? I mean, it's nowhere near Juan Soto. Think about this. If the Mets didn't get Juan Soto and their biggest move was Max Fried, I'd be I wouldn't like it. Max Fried is a mediocre pitcher that you gave way too many years to. 8 years? 8 years for a guy who's been injured and who hasn't had a lot of success in the playoffs. So, and I was never afraid of Max Fried. He wasn't a guy, he's not a power guy. He's not a guy who instilled fear into me. The Mets, when we went up against them, I think the Mets are going to pummel Max Fried. They're going to pummel Max Fried. The Yankees, although their pitching staff is being deep, they got so many damn guys who have injuries. Carlos Rodon, Garrett Cole, Max Fried. And the only guy who I'm like, okay, he's an up-and-coming guy, Luis Gil, they're rumored to trade for Kyle Tucker. So I don't know. Watch. I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked if the Astros make a trade with the Yankees. That's number one. I don't know why they'd make a trade with the Yankees. I guess the Yankees would have to blow them out of the water. But watch the Yankees make a trade for Tucker, and Tucker does the same exact thing Soto did. That would be hilarious. Talk about not learning. But at the end of the day, the Mets need pitching. They need pitching. I think Manaea is going to sign with the Mets, right? Manaea is going to sign with the Mets, but the Mets still need more. I would say Nathan Eovaldi got 3 years, $75 million. That was my projection in the beginning of the year for Manaea, 3 years, $75 million. So, if you want to bump the average AAV down, I would say Manaea is going to get a 4-year contract in the range of 4 years, between 90 and 110 million. So, I mean, you got that $20 million range, but it's looking like he's going to get a 4-year contract. That's a little outside my comfort level, a little longer than what I want to do. But based on the market dynamics, Fried getting 8 years, Evaldi getting 3 years. I mean, it's really, if you're a pitcher of decent talent, it's a good market for you. So, I mean, I would have never, ever. Remember, we signed Manaea last year, 1 year or 2-year contract at around 13 million average annual value. Now, Manaea, after just having 2 or 3 good months, is looking for $100 million contract. If that happens, I got to give all the credit in the world to Sean Manaea to turn that situation into making $100 million. But it's just the market dynamics right now. Strike blitz. Mets need a center fielder. I've been saying that from the beginning. The Mets need a center fielder, but I'm not gonna lie. The Jose Siri thing, that was a very cheap guy. He's got pop. But the thing about Jose Siri, the thing that I love is the guy's got a glove, and he is super exciting to watch. If you watch some of the replays, and I didn't watch a lot of Tampa Bay, I'm not going to pretend that I watch a lot of Rays games. I don't know who does, unless you're a Rays fan. But, the guy's one of the most dynamic outfielders, center fielders out there. So I like him for that respect. But you're right. Is Drew Gilbert ready to come up and produce in center field? I don't think so. And would I rely on a guy like that for a championship team? No. So 100% right. If we can get an upgrade in center field, I would do it. And that's what I was thinking today. I don't know if you're thinking along the lines I was, but a guy like Bellinger, the Cubs supposedly are looking to restructure their payroll situation, which, I mean, I don't get it. If I was a Cubs fan, I'd be irate. Because I'd be very upset because the Cubs should be in a position to add on salary. But fine. If we could take advantage of that situation, I would love to improve with the one. What has he got? 1 or 2 years? Bellinger in center field. I love it. I love it. Nimmo and left, Soto and right. Look at that. Nimmo and left, Bellinger in center, Soto and right. That's an aggressive move. That would be an aggressive move, barring you don't have to give up any crazy return. Yeah, Sarge. I'm just saying if you can get him for like a cheap package. If it's going to cost you a lot of capital, I agree. Getting pitchers would be better, but center field defense and center field offensive production, I don't want to sneeze at as well. Bellinger, Bellinger would be an upgrade. He would clearly be an upgrade. We're missing one decent outfielder. You trade away Starling Marte, you trade him away. Our outfielders is going to be Nimmo, Soto, Jose Siri, and Tyrone Taylor. You need more there. The move I don't want to see, and also too, Bellinger's 29 years old. It's not like he's an old guy yet. If you're going to have him for 2 years, that's fine. The guy I don't want to see here, and you may disagree with this, is Nolan Arenado. There was a rumor yesterday. I saw Nolan Arenado. He'd love to play for the Mets. I don't want Nolan Arenado here. I mean, the guy has been on the decline, and then plus we have a young, burgeoning infield. That would desperately or really affect things. You got Vientos there. You got Lindor, Alonso coming back, Acuna. I don't want to see a guy like Arenado who is ring chasing. You could be considered a mercenary, and that I wouldn't see. That I wouldn't want to see. And also, too, you got to think of the clubhouse. So, even in the Bellinger situation, how would acquiring a guy like Bellinger affect the clubhouse? That Les Daly, Jock Peterson for the DH spot. I like that move. I actually had him slotted in a couple of days ago for a DH option. He's a guy really like, he's been underrated. Like Jock Peterson has been so damn productive wherever he has been. Maybe not as a full-time player, but Jock Peterson, I like it. I do. Let me get his latest stats, but I like that. Wow, I was just like checking. So, wow, Peterson last year had a 3 WAR, 23 home runs, 275 batting average. Guy's going to be 33 years old, so he shouldn't really cost you a lot. But the guy was a really good hitter, 275 batting average. Uh, I'm looking at these numbers. This guy, it was phenomenal last year. Almost a 400 on base, 393 on base, 515 slug, 908 OPS. I mean, in my opinion, I still say the same thing about Peterson. Just he's been very underrated. He's been an underrated player. So if you can get him as your DH, as a DH option, that would continue to strengthen the depth on your team. I like it. I like it. Good suggestion. Stoney, I see you saying about trading for Vladdy. Vladdy. Vladdy's, and everybody's saying Soto contract. Vladdy's going to demand a heck of a lot of money. Um, Vladdy, you got to be sitting pretty. You're sitting pretty right now. And any team who wants to trade for Vladdy, just know this: you better have a lot of money to re-sign him, because it's going to be very similar next year. You're going to have 2 or 3 guys next year probably competing for $500 million contracts. Vladdy going to be one of them. Vladdy's going to be one of them. It's really tough to say, because a couple of years ago, $300 million, $350 million, that was like what top guys were getting. Now, all of a sudden, since Shohei Ohtani, you're talking about the 700 millions. So, I mean, it's a new world out there. A guy like Vladdy, if you trade for him, you best be, and you're going to have to give up capital, and you best be in a position to sign him. Yeah, no, he would be an insane pickup. He'd be an insane to have a lineup with Juan Soto, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., of Cisco Lindor. I mean, that'd be like an all. It's like you're forming an all-star team. This would be like what the Yankees were 20 years ago. But it's just that I see it very, very unlikely that the Mets are would invest $500 or $600 million in this guy, in Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Not this guy. I mean, this guy's great. What am I saying? But probably Pete Alonso is good. Pete Alonso essentially is going to be your more cost efficient guy. And that's in these last couple of days. That's another reason why I'm saying Pete Alonso. He's going to be more cost efficient than a guy like Guerrero. And I don't know if this is true. So it's saying the Yankees' latest target is Alex Bregman. Wow. I wonder how much they would, they overpaid in my, not average annual value, but in years, overpaid max free, give him 8 years. But I wonder how much they would pay Alex Bregman. I mean, I've never been that high on Bregman. The thing I do like about him is he's been pretty decent in the playoffs, but I think he's on the decline. He's another one of those smaller players. um, taking advantage of the left field in where the Astros play. But at least the one good thing about if you're a Yankee fan, and not that we care about the Yankees, they are using the money. They are using their money that they were spending on Soto. So yeah, so the recent updates is the Mets, they're looking to trade Marte, Starling Marte, right? They don't need to trade Starling Marte, but it looks like it's something that they're exploring. They're exploring. So he's in his last year of a 4-year, $78 million contract. This year is in the final season. Final year, he's making $19.5 million contract. He's making $19.5 million this year. A team that speculatively could be interested. You got a team like the Red Sox, and also team the Guardians, the Padres, the Astros, the Royals, the Reds are all teams that could be interested in Marte if the salary is basically eaten down to nothing. So, I mean, if you're going to trade Marte, what could you get back? What could you get back? What would you want back? What would be the thing that we need? I mean, I think the only thing that you'd be looking for is some type of valuable pitching piece, right? Because you have young players who could play the outfield, right? So I'm assuming you have people who could fill his position, or you can make a move, in some other respect. But if you're exploring trades, I'm assuming you want to get younger, you want to get faster. So you want some of the young kids to play, and you want to capitalize on what little value Starling Marte has, right? He can't have a lot of value, but I'm assuming if you pay most of his contract, he'll have a little decent value. He's, a good contact hitter, and he was a lot more healthy last year. So trade him when he's got, maybe trade him now when he's got some value. So I guess the Mets would look for some type of pitching component piece back, and that would be it. I'm not against that. I want to get younger. I want to get faster. And it looks like a guy like Starling Marte would be a guy where you kind of change the image of this team, the image of this outfield. And, that's fine. That is fine. But, it's nothing, nothing too massive. It's nothing too massive. You're not going to get anything too crazy. But it'd be like a change of the team's image. Stony, you asked, do you have it where we can become a member? I was looking into that. I know a lot of YouTubers do the membership thing. I don't have it set up yet, but I'm gonna set it up probably in the very near future. I'm not the most tech savvy guy, so I don't really do that. But I'm definitely gonna do the membership thing because we got a lot of great subscribers here, a lot of great subscribers. So I do want to set that up. And Stony, I will 100% let everyone know. So I'll definitely let you know. But thank you so much for asking. I appreciate that. I know, I feel so lucky. I know we've had a lot of new subscribers, but I also have I've seen people here for years and years and years, and I thank you so much. Yeah, Strike Blitz, you're right. Giants could use Marte, and they have been looking to trade their closer, Doval. This is a situation, this is the exact situation where I've been talking about for the last couple months. We got David Stearns, supposedly one of the best baseball minds in all of baseball. This is the perfect opportunity where he can continue to be creative, right? You have an asset. It might not be the greatest asset in the world, but to a team like San Francisco or, a team like the Brewers, who they are looking to compete, you pay down their salaries. So even though if they're worried about money, it won't be a factor, but you might be able to identify a piece. You have a pitching lab, a piece that is valuable to you. So this is where a guy like Stearns has that opportunity to shine. Oh, and I do definitely want to get to the Pete Alonso update. Okay, so the Mets, what they did before they signed Juan Soto, they've always been in close contact with Pete Alonso, right? They've had close contact, close dialogue. Very important. So they told Pete, go out, see which kind of contract you can get. And then the thought process is whatever contract he gets, he will bring back to the New York Mets so that they can match it or beat it. That was agreed upon by both sides. Okay, so in terms of his market, according to MLB insider Jeff Passan, it was asked, how is Alonso's market been developing? And according to Passan, the perception is that there's really not much of a market for Pete Alonso. Alonso was expected. He was expected to be a coveted asset on the open market for teams across the league to target. However, the interest has not been there so far, which could open up the possibility of the Mets retaining the star slugger. Now, here's the reason why there's not much interest. Obviously, we know Pete had a bit of a down year. I suspect reasons why. I think he's still lingering. He's had wrist injuries the year before, and his mechanics were just all over the place. He was swinging at pitchers 2 feet outside. There are many adjustments he could make. A patient hitter in the lineup like Soto is going to do wonders for Pete. Wonders. Okay, but that's besides the point. Now, the Mets, they made the offer last year. I think it was 7 years, $156 million. So the thought process is that the Mets are around that figure. They're not going to just say, hey, Pete, here's $80 million. No, the New York Mets are said to basically honor that offer. They're not going to go crazy above it. And other teams are saying Pete is not worth that. He's not worth that money. So the 7-year, $156 million, and I think it was around that number, is basically top of the market for Pete as we speak at this moment. And that's why his market is bare at the moment. Could change, could develop. Let's say, a guy like Bregman gets signed and other free agents get signed. Maybe players that are on the market, they get traded for. Then another team could be, all right, I need that bat. I need that power. Then they can make a pivot and go after Pete. But at this moment, right now, there's no market for Pete Alonso. Good for the Mets. Juan, my buddy. You're right. Pete had one bad year. I'm confident with a better lineup around him, he's going to be dangerous. Last year I was very down on Pete, and it was because of one reason. The guy wanted to be paid like a superstar, but wasn't playing like it. Wasn't playing like it. I don't think there was any doubt the guy was way below where he should be. But when I people and I gotta say thank you because a lot of people send me information and some really good information. And the really good information that was sent to me was when Pete Alonso was hit in 2023 by Charlie Morton. He was hit on the wrist. And before he was hit on the wrist, he was dominant. It was the Pete Alonso we all saw. I think he was set to almost hit 60 home runs. Then after that, his mechanics, the way his wrist swung, when he swung the bat, his wrist movement changed. It changed completely. So, I think that he had a lingering effect from the injury and mechanics why he was still messed up in 2024. So hopefully that's identified. And what I saw at the end of the season, Pete changed his approach. He changed his approach completely in the Brewers series. He was going up the middle, opposite field. Pete started becoming like the hitter. And I'm not saying he doesn't have to be that 50-something home run hitter. He just has to become a better hitter. If he has wrist problems or something like that, he just has to develop and, get used to the version of Pete he is now. As you get older, your body changes, your mechanics change, but you have to make adjustments. I believe we're going to see a major Pete Alonso adjustment. You're going to see the polar bear be a lot more patient with Juan Soto in the lineup. And that's what I can't wait to see. And I think that's what you're alluding to, Juan. Seeing Juan Soto in the lineup and his effect on the rest of the lineup is going to be beautiful. Beautiful. Got to put this one. Oh, sup, man. Awesome background. Thank you so much. My wife set that up. Got to have the Christmas tree up. Hopefully, I'm wishing everybody enjoy your holidays. Hopefully, everybody's having fun, especially since we got a great gift this year with Mr. Juan Soto. So, can't complain. All right, Strike Blitz. You're right. Alvarez is going to have a monster year. He was hurt all year and not the same after he destroyed his thumb. That's a fact. That's a fact. If you saw, if talk about mechanics, the guy with the most screwiest mechanics last year was Alvarez. Alvarez. The only pitch the guy was able to hit was up in the zone. He couldn't bring his hands in. He couldn't extend his arms. The guy was 100% hurt. 100% hurt. And towards the end of the year, he started to feel better. You started to see him being able to turn on the ball like he did the year before. But, for a good part, 2 or 3 months, there was only one pitch that he can hit. Only one pitch. And that happens when a guy is either one, getting older, or two, hurt. And you definitely saw it. And Alvarez is a guy, first season, 25 home runs, got all the talent in the world. I'm super, super excited to see Alvarez. And you forget about Alvarez. You forget about him in a lineup with Soto, Alonso, Nimmo, Lindor, Vientos. I mean, Alvarez is your sixth best hitter, and he's a guy who can pop 30 home runs, easily, I believe. So, I mean, it just shows you how deep this team is, how excited you got to be. And you got the young guys, too, Cunha. I'm super excited to see him. And he didn't even play in the playoffs. So, it is going to be so fun. Yeah, the kid's average. Francisco Alvarez's average hasn't been there the first 2 years. But, he played his 21, 22 age season. He's going to get better. He's a guy who's going to get better. We got young kids, young talent on the team, and trading away a guy like Marte, like I said, I like that. You want to get younger. You want to get faster in the outfield. And two, you're going to – if Soto – I've heard this over and over, and I think it's a bit of an overstatement. I think it's, it was too much. Everybody was saying how bad Soto's defense is, and I'm not saying it's great. I'm not saying it's great, but it's all the more reason for you to have two of elite um, outfielders around him. You know, but it'll be fine. It'll be fine. And the funny thing is, when you think about Soto, right, and the Mets signed him, it's so funny. Like you think about when somebody loses something, whether they lose something, they go through a stages of grief. It seemed like the Yankee fans, all of a sudden they want the guy. 2 seconds later, I never wanted the guy. I never wanted him. It was so much better off. That's hilarious. Hilarious. Tim, you got a great question. Let me pin that one up. Let me pin this one up. This is a great one. Should the Mets trade McGill, Marte, Beatty, Acuna, Sproat? Sorry, you got cut off. Sproat, Gilbert, McLean, and cash to the Astros for DH Giordano Alvarez. Easiest question I ever got. Hell no. I know, Tim. You're probably just being, saying that in jest, but no. I mean, Giordano's a great player, but definitely not for all that. Yeah, Tim. Thankfully, you're not the GM of the Mets. That's funny. That's funny. Hey, sometimes you got to get creative, but you can't give all your prospects away. It makes no sense. I like how you started. Giving McGill away, but you got to give some talent. You gave a little too much talent. All right, folks, if anybody hasn't got a chance to like the video, if you can like the video, it really helps out the stream. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And you know what I did today? I went on Fangraphs, and I love this. I absolutely love this. Actually, at first I went on Spot Track, then I went on Baseball Reference, and I looked at Mets payroll situation, Mets roster, and it didn't have Juan Soto on Fangraphs. It didn't have Juan Soto yet on Spot Track. But when I went to no, it did. When I went to Fangraphs, it had Juan Soto on the New York Mets roster. And I love to see that. I've been waiting for days to see Juan Soto as a Met. And I think a lot of those sites were waiting until it was official today, until he passed his physical. And, and then I was thinking too, for all those Yankee fans who said that, they don't want Juan Soto, God forbid he failed his physical for some type of silly reason. I guarantee you every single Yankee fan would be screaming to go get Juan Soto again. And something else that surprised me in the last couple of days. There's been a lot of controversy about like Juan Soto with the security guard, but there's also been a lot of controversy about the supposed ask that Juan Soto wanted a suite for his family. So the Mets, obviously, as we all know, a lot of us know this. The New York Mets said, yeah, sure. Of course you can have a suite. Of course, you're Juan Soto. We're giving you $800 million. You can have a suite. But the Yankees, he wanted a suite. And the Yankees said, no, nobody gets a suite. Aaron Judge doesn't get one. Derek Jeter doesn't get one. And you, Mr. Juan Soto, you don't get one. And there were so many things in the process. And I said Juan Soto was going to the Mets long before. All the clues. How Steinbrenner didn't have a relationship with him. He had apparently his family and his cook, his chef, got into a big deal with the security guard. They had a problem with that. Then they refused to give his family a suite. Over and over, they say they want you, but they smack this guy in the face. So it's you tell Yankee fans that it was more than just the money. And when you hear all these things, it was more. And then a guy like Michael K is like, it had nothing to do with the suite. It had nothing to do with the suite. Well, if I'm a guy like Juan Soto and you disrespected my family, you disrespected, I guess, my cook, who could be considered like family. You don't give my family a suite. You don't, if you're the owner, House Steinbrenner, you don't have any relationship with me the whole year. I would take offense to this as well, too. And then you look over at the New York Mets, and they are treating you like a god. And they are saying, Juan Soto, you are family. You're part of us now. In a suite, no problem, my friend. You get a suite. It just seems like everything's so much easier in Queens. And this again, all comes back to Mr. Steve Cohen. Imagine the Wilpons, that'd be another excuse. Oh, the Wilpons, obviously they don't have the money, but they'd be like, oh, he wanted a suite? He's not better than the rest of the team. Yeah, and that's essentially what the New York Yankees were saying when they said they're not giving you a suite. They basically said to Juan Soto, you're not better than Jeter. You're not better than Aaron Judge. We're not giving you a suite. So, that's another thing where I'm like, no doubt about it, why he was going to the New York Mets. Yeah, and I'm looking at this right now. They said the Mets willingly gave Soto and his family a suite at Citi Field as part of the record-setting contract, and the Yankees wouldn't give him the suite. Instead, what they did do, I got to give the Yankees a little tiny bit of a breadcrumb of credit. They said instead they offered him a discount. We'll give you a suite at a discount. I mean, come on. You're going to be this petty? When you're at $800 million, you're going to be petty? I won't give you a suite. I'll give you a discount. You're making yourselves look silly. And if I'm Juan Soto, if I'm having problems in the beginning of the relationship, how much problems am I going to have in year 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, especially when I'm aging? So those were huge factors. At the end of the day, the Mets did whatever it took. Oh, yeah, Stoney, I'm sorry. You said I just froze. Yeah, I'm doing this streaming from YouTube, and this is from YouTube. Like, I'm not on any other platforms. I'm having the most trouble with YouTube, so I got to definitely look at that. Strike Blitz. You wrote Iglesias was the most important Met outside of Lindor on our run. I like guys like that. I like guys like Iglesias because they bring a different component to the team, a different vibe, a different energy, and gets everybody going. I love what Iglesias did. I also love what Jesse Winker did. I love what those two guys did. They brought a different dynamic. I like a little bit of a villain. When we played the Brewers in the first series, Reese Hoskins had, that big homer, and he was like the villain, going back from the Phillies. But another thing that I'm liking and a storyline that is developing, and I'm going to love this storyline, is the storyline between Juan Soto and the Yankees. And when he goes to Yankee Stadium, you're going to see how a real villain performs. Because I think that Juan Soto is going to be the best villain in all of MLB. Yeah, Torrens, really decent backup catcher. I think, I liked him as well. I think he was pretty effective. We didn't really lose much. Alvarez had trouble hitting for most of the year, and defensively, Torrens did well as well. So yeah, Torrens was a pretty good backup catcher, I have to say. But what really, and this is what happened last year. Bullpen, help kind of always came last. So last year the market was like this: starting pitchers, teams went after starting pitchers first, then they went after hitters, then they went after the bullpen. So I'm very interested to see how we're eventually going to finish up this bullpen. This is year 2 for David Stearns. Last year, we had a lot of, cheap pieces, cheap type of pieces. Johan Ramirez. I mean, guys like that, we better not be Jose Lopez. We better not be investing in fringe MOB relievers. I don't want fringe MOB relievers. We better be investing in legit. The Dodgers, they have a legit bullpen. They have a really legit pitching staff. So, in terms of acquiring pitching talent, I know David Stearns, he's got his pitching lab and all, but like I'm looking to acquire more talent. That's why Jonathan Loaizaga, I'm not sweating it. He went to the Yankees, but it really showed a bit of a change in philosophy to get established talent. Clay, so I'm gonna kind of monitor and kind of see how we get more bullpen talent. But so far, so good. See, Static was a guy. Okay, Static was a guy who had a lot of potential. Obviously, Static in 2022, Edwin Diaz was one of the best relievers. He was probably the best reliever in all of baseball. A guy who was right behind him in 22 was Ryan Stanek. Has postseason experience with the Astros. He had when they made that trade, I liked it. Then for the next month and a half, we saw Stanek not really pitch well. Not really pitch well. Stanek is going to be a guy who you can get at a very low value. The reason why Stanek had trouble is because he had apparently a lot of issues with back spasms, and they affected him his last couple starts. I think he was with the Mariners, but he definitely affected him his first month and a half with the Mets. Then at the end of the year, he started to feel a bit better, and you saw he improved tremendously. So if you can get a guy like that on a value type of contract, that's a guy who I'd invest in. Not a Johan Ramirez or a Jorge Lopez. Those guys, I don't want to see any part of those. But a guy like Static, a guy who has potential, yeah, I would definitely invest in a guy like that because it's not going to cost that much. It's those basically low risk, high reward type of pickups. All right, folks. So we're gonna be wrapping up. I basically covered like all of the updates that I needed to today. But you know what? If you're new, subscribe because we're going to be doing this more frequently. It's going to be very exciting right now. Obviously, we got Juan Soto on the roster, but we're going to keep on top of these updates and we're going to have live streams. I'm going to try to do them more routinely. So stay tuned. On your way out, like the video or not like the video, like the live stream if you haven't. I'm going to talk to everybody very, very soon. I hope, we all have a great night tonight. Thank you so much for sticking around for the last hour. I appreciate each and every one of you. Everyone, have a great night. Have a great night. Let's go Mets.